Hey, welcome back to our form of reality show. Today, Mike, we want to welcome a very special guest. The guest is Ellie Crystal from Brooklyn, New York. And Ellie is a teacher, a psychic, a media personality, a researcher, an author, a blogger, and since 1995 has been publishing a compendium of over 10,000 integrated files that combine science, social service, pseudoscience, and much, much more. And I know, Mike, you spent all night going through every one of those files.
Yeah, it's all right here.
No, she has been working on this, and I'll be quite frank with you. It is just a fantastic, great, a lot of information, and we're going to get into that.
Yeah, if you're curious about something, go to the link under her name over there.
crystallinks.com.
Right.
So, welcome, Ellie. It is a pleasure having you here.
Welcome, Pat, Mike. It's my pleasure to be here today.
I know, Ellie, that you have a wealth of experiences and a wealth of knowledge in looking at a variety of different things. And I'll be quite frank with you in talking about a subject, the holographic universe. I know little bit about it, but I'm hoping that you'll be able to share some things about what the holographic universe is, the multiverse, because you have done a lot of study in that, a lot of knowledge.
Well, the holographic universe is just another name for what the indigenous people called a dream time or an illusion. Many current researchers say we live in a simulation. I call it the holographic universe. Sometimes on my blogs, I refer to it as the program, that we live in a program, a holographic program. It's all the same. Everything is really all the same. And what it basically means, and what the physicists are trying to show, and the pseudoscientists are trying to incorporate into the whole broad spectrum of metaphysics, is that the reality that we live in is really a simulation.
Is that sort of like the movie The Matrix in some way?
The Matrix is good because it's about consciousness, and in the Matrix they put something into the head, you know.
That's how you get plugged in.
So the characters would believe it's real. Inception is another one. It explained a lot of points that how people move through the deep dream time. Inception was showing that there are those in the simulation or the dream time who actually know that this is a dream, it's not real, whereas everybody else is a product of the illusion and they don't know it. And there is an agenda, and there's always an agenda for a simulation, and the agenda at this level of consciousness is really just to study emotions. You have to have physical reality, 3D physical reality, linear time, to experience emotions. And that's what we're doing here, whether we're doing it well or doing it however we're doing it. This is why we came to this level of the hologram. Now, when I explain the hologram to my workshops and my clients and whoever, I explain it as the entire universe. It's not just the Earth. It's not just this dimension, the physical dimension. It is all and everything. You can call it a collective unconscious. My major was psychology and education, so that's where I kind of fit in. But it's a collective unconscious that created this experience that we are having at this point to experience emotions. But it is also going on many different levels. And I'm not saying we're moving to 5th level, 6th level. I don't get into that metaphysical jargon. It's happening in all realms and dimensions. Like when people say, are there parallel realities? Why not? Okay. Are there other dimensions? Why not? Is string theory correct? Is the multiverse correct? Anything and everything is possible within the framework of the hologram, because as a physicist explained it to me, it's science and math, and it's just an algorithm, and our consciousness is projected into this algorithm. And here is Ellie, and there is Mike. I hope I'm pointing correctly. And there's Pat, and our consciousness is just experiencing in these bodies. So this is
if I can ask a question, or an analogy for me, suppose we see a movie, and the movie's a Western, and what we would do is we would find ourselves being projected into the movie and dialoguing with them. Is that a good analogy, where it's the same thing with the holographic universe, where individuals are projected into your living?
Yeah, there's a lot of physicists. They're on YouTube, and they're also on my file, the Holographic Universe, that explain how the projection happens as a two-dimensional sheet that gets projected out and becomes a three-dimensional reality that we believe is real. Okay, so that is explained if you go to crystallinks.com, the Holographic Universe. I think it's easier with the physicists to explain it, because they have all the special effects to do it. But I've noticed this much about it. Everybody in metaphysics has something they're guided to do. Most people are into healing and helping and energy work and so on, and then there's the whole ancient alien theories, and then there's physics, and then it's everything, okay? But little by little by little, people are starting to talk about this reality more and more frequently now as a holographic universe. Like Elon Musk said, it's a simulation. And, on an intellectual level, people will say, well, maybe these people are right. You look at their work, you listen to what they have to say, you see the physicists, you think about your own personal experiences that you've had, and maybe when you escaped death, or maybe when you had psychic experiences, all these little things, like the near-death experience is a good example, where suddenly somebody they're dying, and then all of a sudden they're somewhere floating out there, they don't know where, maybe they see a light. We call that the light in the projection room, but that's just a silly title. And then they come back, and all they're doing is taking this consciousness illusion and moving their consciousness into the grids that create the whole illusion. So if you're able to, and you can remember, you can go anywhere in here. When you say you're soul traveling, when you say you're doing a past life regression, when you're doing anything that's out of body, a meditation, anything, and people do all kinds of things that just balance the chemistry of their brain, and they lift out of this reality. When you're doing that, you are taking your consciousness from here and moving it out, even in your dreams. Do you know, Pat, I have to tell you guys, you had a dream last night, right? Maybe you woke up remembering it, but you dream. We all dream.
Sure.
And some people don't remember. I'm not going to go into the whole dream hypothesis, but you had a dream. You woke up this morning. You went on with your day, okay? That dream could easily still be happening.
That's a good
part
point.
of your consciousness came back into Ellie and Mike and Pat. Here it is, doing a TV show, doing this, doing that, whatever your day is. But that piece of your consciousness, that little part of Ellie, is probably still out there having that dream, and who knows how many other experiences, because the soul is so multifaceted and multi-level that, it's like the deja vu thing. Okay, you see somebody and you look at that person and you go, did I meet them in this lifetime? Do I know them from somewhere? It's your soul connecting with something somewhere else that's going on. It's not as complicated as a lot of people make it. It really can be dumbed down so that people can get it, at least in the mind. Now, to get it in the mind that we are existing as simulation in a hologram, the mind could say, okay, maybe she's right, maybe she's wrong. I'll process, I'll register that, and I'm done. But then there's the soul. Then there's the knowing. Although recently I did an article that says the soul is the mind, so it's the same thing. It's not really in the heart chakra. But it's the soul has to say, I remember that I don't belong here. Very few people you meet in metaphysics feel they belong here, correct?
Correct.
They feel they come from another reality, another planet, another anything really, you know? It's like, okay, I'm Ellie Crystal from Brooklyn. I'm here, I'm in Brooklyn now. Who knows what the heck I'm doing out there? I could be Donald Trump running for president. There you go.
Somehow you just don't look like Donald Trump, but that's...
Well, you know, it's all part of something. And then when you look at the hologram and you say, we are looking at the hologram star date, let's call it October 2016. What is going on? And then you look at the different facets of the hologram and you start to say, is there a candidate between Trump and Hillary who can fix it? Is there anyone who can fix it? Why is everything imploding? Why are people not getting along? Why are the climate change is happening? Why is everything happening? And why are people just so burnt out and sad?
Yeah, I've said it several times in the past, I don't know, month or 2 months. If somebody was transported from like the 1980s to now, they would think we were all insane.
Well,
I mean, not talking about this, but all the different things that are happening, like Donald Trump running for president or
Hillary Clinton running for president.
different things that are happening is like, how the heck do you guys get here?
Well, you know, when you get to who's running for president, why things are happening in such a horrific way in the Middle East, and the climate changes and the natural disasters, why is it all happening? Then you stop and look at the whole picture of everything, and you feel in your soul, you feel in your heart, this is all going somewhere, okay? This is not randomly happening. We did not suddenly go from just scribbling on stone or whatever all the way to the mid-40s to now in terms of technology. Something has made a giant leap and a jump and has caused humanity to have this jump. And then you have to say, how come? Why are we having this jump now? You know, I know a lot of the people who do Ancient Aliens series, and they feel that perhaps, I'm not going to say they all feel this way, so I can't say for sure, ancient aliens have created this reality. It's a biogenetic experiment, okay? I can't say yes, I can't say no. There is so much proof, physical proof around the planet that ancient aliens have at some point lived here, interacted here, maybe still walk down the street and say hi to you and you wouldn't even know it. I mean, that's a whole big chapter in itself, but I go above that, okay? We are a biogenetic experiment. There's no doubt about that. They're right about that. Who created us? Was it reptilians? Was it greys? Was it advanced humanoids? It could be 6 1/2 dozen of another, okay? But then I take it above that the hologram itself would have created the aliens to create the humanoid experience, okay? So no matter how you cut it, the hologram is what uses algorithms to create what we believe is a really true experience on any level of consciousness. It is all created that way. I don't discount aliens. I mean, I had my own experience, so I certainly can't discount that. But it's any way you look at it. When you look at the holographic theory at this point, and I suggest to you that everything that is happening now is because the hologram we believe is our reality on any level, in any time, any space, any dimension. And it's coming to an end because time had a beginning. Time is an illusion, actually. Everything had a beginning, so ergo, everything's going to come to an end. And when it comes to an end, human consciousness needs to evolve to a point where it understands the hologram, and there's no way to do this without the simulation. without the computers, without people understanding all the movies, the TV shows, the documentaries, people's personal experiences, okay? I had one experience, a director in Hollywood who came to see me because, that was about a couple of years ago, he had climbed a mountain and to meditate, and he was meditating to the universe, and he said, I want to know what reality is. And whoever he was talking to, I'm not saying it's God, I'm not saying it's anything, maybe it's higher consciousness, doesn't matter, but the answer that came back to him is it's a holographic simulation. So he finished the day or two he was up there, he came back down, he looked up the holographic universe, came to my website, and came to me when he was in New York. And it's when you are ready, because time is an illusion, when you are ready, you will find the answers and they will make sense to you. And what you do with that information.
Yeah, that is very true.
I'm not sure if she answered it. My question was going to be, who created, if there's a simulation, who created the simulation?
I don't know, except it's light and energy. That's all I can tell you. I don't know. I
Right.
can't say there's a God person up there who looks like Jesus, because I'm not religious. I believe religions and going back to, all the way back to the beginning of religions, which is really goes into aliens, because these people were not really humanoid. All of that mythology and religion, that's all it really is. It's
It's
not
a way to understand
So,
the
no.
unexplainable.
There is no way. Maybe there is somebody out there who knows who created the hologram. I don't know. No one who has ever approached me and said to me, Ellie, I know how the hologram was created. We just see it as consciousness and light, and we are all a part of that. And when this hologram, which is, you could say, imploding or collapsing, or however you want to phrase it, it doesn't matter, but when it ends, your consciousness leaves the hologram, because there is no more hologram, okay? And at that moment in time, you will understand all and everything.
Ellie, we have conversed a lot, especially before the turn of the century, when you were just getting your crystallinks.com going, etc. And you helped me to understand a variety of different areas. But one of the things that I always came to you was, what happens when we die? Let's just suppose we die before the hologram, the graphic universe ends.
Right.
Where does that individual soul go to?
It's only a part of the whole soul. So let's say somebody died. There was somebody famous who died today, Shimon Peres.
Yes.
Okay? Yes. Okay, so you say, where is his soul? If you do mediumship, you take your consciousness signature and you go out into the collective or the holographic grids, and you look for him, and you know exactly where he is. When I look for him at this moment in time, I see him around his family. That's where I see him. And I'm not saying that generically, because some souls just pop out and they're gone, but the soul goes into other soul aspects that it's experiencing in other parts of other grids.
I tend to very much agree with that we are just a part in this holographic universe. We're just an aspect of a much larger, which comes to the question, is there just one aspect in which Mike is a part, and I'm a part, and you're a part, or is it many different aspects?
Ultimately one.
Oh, okay.
And when the hologram closes, just like, you and Mike were talking about this all being projected illusion, on a screen, and you'll see that when you look at how it's presented, the holographic universe, it just all fades to black. That is what I have labeled this. Can I explain why? Okay.
I'm sure people would want to know.
Yeah, I always knew it faded to black at the end. I always knew that. But then June of 2010, I was sitting every morning, I blog like 8-ish, 9-ish, at that time. And I was sitting, and my window here faces out to the Atlantic Ocean, the Verrazano Bridge, and I was sitting, and it was very overcast. It had rained for several days, and so, but I'm sitting, and then all of a sudden, everything, like, I saw it like it came down like a screen. And by the way, I do not drink, never drug, and have no mental illness or issues, okay?
Okay.
I like just, well, your listeners may not know that, but I have never do any of that stuff. So it was like a black screen that came down, and that's when your instincts kick in.
Right.
I jumped out of the chair, and I ran to the living room window that faces directly out to the bridge. Everything to me outside was black, okay? Now, the street lights had gone out because it was June and it gets daylight. They're on a timer and they had turned off. The lights on the bridge, except for a few little red ones that beep along the top, they had gone out, It was black. What I saw, what I experienced, and of course I posted it, what I experienced was, my first instinct was, oh my God, this is it, and I'm not dressed for the day. I'm just sitting here, I'm not gonna leave, wait. Well, I was wearing something, but if you're gonna leave, you wanna leave pretty, right? Oh, what the heck. So I looked out, and then all of a sudden, I saw the bridge and everything outside my window fade away. This is instant. I saw the floor, I saw everything. I saw Ellie Crystal fade away like that fast. I saw what I consider my soul spark just like leaving, and when it went up and out, and I always see things never going straight up at 12 o'clock, I always see them going to the 1 o'clock. When it left, there was only one thought that came to me. I would think, oh, my children, where are my children? What's happening? My only thought was, that was an interesting experience. And then a few months later, they did a show on the TV series Sanctuary, where the two main characters on that show were put into simulation chambers. And the long and the short of that one is they realize also, we're stuck in a hologram. They find a way out of the hologram. The woman sits up, okay, and the guy sits up. They're physicists. They sit up, they look at each other. She says to him, that was an interesting experience. And I'm like, yes! A little confirmation helps.
Yes.
So the long and the short of it is, I posted it. Oh, and by the way, this black lasted about 10 minutes. I asked neighbors, I asked people from adjacent neighborhoods in Brooklyn, if it faded to black for them, and it did. Someone in Lutheran Hospital, one of my clients, she happened to look out of the window at that time because she was like, why is it dark again? She saw it go to black. So this was not me. I mean, that it sounds maybe a little egotistical, but I felt that experience was there, meant for me to explain the fade to black. You don't feel fear or hurt or pain or any of the emotions you've experienced in physical reality. Your consciousness, and you're like, that was an interesting experience. And off you go. Off I went into wherever, and then all of a sudden, like, the light came back up again, like, okay, Ellie, how'd you like that experience? And that was it. So I love that story.
Well, it brings home a good point that you have some unique talents and gifts. I don't think I ever shared this with Mike, but one of our readings, if you want to call it, our consultations that we had, and this was back before really the internet was kicking off, Mike. We were communicating through phone. We had reel tape recorders. We had all of that kind of equipment. That we even had a wall phone that was attached to the wall.
Right.
I still have that stuff. Don't make fun of me. I'm a senior.
And Ellie told me that she didn't know when it would happen, probably in 10, 12 years, that I would be involved with university work, I would be working with students, and we would be doing something in the space. And because it really wasn't pronounced, all Ellie could say is transmission of signals or things of that nature to where we would be educating. And what are we doing today?
YouTube, yay! I'd like to do more YouTube. People always tell me to do YouTube. Maybe I will.
Well, I think you should. But the point that I'm getting at is that 10, 12, 13 years ago, you are a phenomenal individual who has a lot of really good insights. And you have special gifts that you've used to help other individuals understand.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're
That's very
more than
nice
welcome.
of you.
I am just
You know what it
amazed.
is with the readings, how you see in a reading, because there are people out there who feel they have psychic abilities and psychic gifts. And, for those people who like, how should I develop them? What should I do? Should I study this or study that or whatever? Basically, what you're doing is I'm taking my consciousness and I was placing it in your timeline. Okay, we all have timelines of what we're doing here. That's the grids. And I was reading it. Not reading it like a book. I was reading it like, oh, there he is. He's going to be doing interviews. He's going to be doing
Sure.
this and that.
Sort of like if you took a piece of film and went through a movie and went to these different frames.
Yeah, I see timelines as going straight out to me because that's the future. When I do readings, the days of people asking me, it's funny how readings have changed, but the days of people asking me, what did I do in a past life? Okay, those days are gone.
Yeah.
People don't ask me that anymore. The only time they ask me that is in terms of relationship. So if they're in a good or a bad, usually if they're in a bad relationship with someone, they want to know where was he and I or she and I or whoever the people are together in another lifetime that creates what's happening now.
Like a karma thing, like, did they screw me over in the past lifetime? Because they're doing a
Yeah,
hard...
what goes around comes around.
Yeah.
Very common expression. Exactly. But basically, everything that you experience in the hologram, okay, this is where it gets a little sticky with me and some other people, but everything you experience is programmed into your DNA. It is all there. Maybe with the exception of for lunch, did I have a salad or did I have a sandwich? Not important, unless one of them was going to make me violently ill. That's not important, okay?
Very true.
Every major thing that you do, every decision is predetermined. Even when you remain in a bad relationship, then you just go, oh, it's just karma that I have to stay with this person. No, it's programming. And the day that programming ends, okay, no matter what day it is, when that programming ends, you wake up that morning and you go, I am so done. I'm done.
I agree.
And you take your things and off you go, and that's it. Because I have read abused women and abused men. Women abuse men. Women are crazy.
It's 50-50, I think.
Yes, it is. It is. People are a little wacky. So I have read people, and I'll say, let's say it's to a woman, and she'll tell me my husband drinks or drugs or he's mentally unstable and he abuses me. And I will explain what I just explained to you, and they'll say, well, can I change this by leaving tomorrow? I'll just pick up, and I'm out of here. And I'll go, I see when you're going to leave. Let's say it's in 6 months, a year, whatever, or at a point where this guy almost kills you, and you have no choice. But otherwise, I'll say, you're not going anywhere. You're going to stick around for all this abuse. It's not because I'm saying it. It's because that's how you program.
No, it's very true.
For the way I look at it is, if you're in a difficult situation, you don't get out of it until you learn the lesson that situation is trying to teach you.
That's a very metaphysical perspective on it, yes. Yeah, it's the same thing. I don't believe in this whole thing in metaphysics of contracts. Like that woman and her alcoholic husband signed contracts for her to be abused like that. I don't think so. Do you think the people in Syria today sign contracts? The horrific things, I can't read about them anymore, that are going on there? No, they didn't. This is the algorithm that is playing out, and it is trying very, very hard to show us what it is, and that's why we have computers today. Okay, we have computers. We know that it's from reverse engineering, from alien craft, etc., etc. That's another topic. But we have computers so we can understand. We live in a computer.
Understand? Let me ask you this, Ellie, because I ran across some individuals that have a belief that prior to when we are born, we program what our abilities are, what our characteristics are, whether we're going to be man or woman. How do you feel about that? What?
Like if you're in a video game, you create your character.
Yeah, yeah.
Do I feel people do it on their own? Souls do it on their own?
Or that
it's random. The soul spirals.
Just random?
Everything
Okay.
is spiraling consciousness. It spirals in from the collective. Da 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 da. The spiral going down to the
Okay.
cone. The soul comes in. I believe it's potluck. There are no predetermined, but the soul comes in with its own DNA codes.
Okay.
And those DNA codes, of course, are affected by the DNA codes of the parents and the two sets of grandparents. So if we have emotional problems, substance abuse issues, gay, all kinds of craziness that make this world up the way it is right now, those are genetic. All you have to do, and people got that, thank God people have got that, go look up even 2 generations and you'll know. It's all genetic. And that's just the way it is.
That's a question I've asked other people too, is who are we? Originally I started looking at ancestry, right? Because, I'm a result of all the decisions that people in my family have made. So you've got ancestry and DNA. You've got astrology, so you're this sign, whether it's Western or Chinese, and then you've got past lives, if you believe in that. You've got everything that you were in past lives, so you've got all these different makeups. And how do you see all that fitting together?
Well, it's all happening parallel, so it's not like they are past lives. They are just other, like here's a slinky spiral. See a slinky. Every little dot on that slinky is someplace your soul is experiencing.
Oh.
Okay? So let's say your soul was in World War II. Okay? It will experience, it may experience. I had people who've come here, and I'm very good with doing people's bodies, getting into a body and telling you exactly what's wrong. I forget, psychic intuitive, I think they call it.
Yes.
So I can get into a body and I'll say, oh, your shoulder, what happened? And they'll go, yeah, it's bothered me my whole life. And then I can go back in the grids, the consciousness grids, and see that they were shot right there. It may not have been Germany, it may have been at another time, but can you carry that over and through? You can.
And what you call a consciousness grid would some people call the Akashic records.
Well, that's the same thing.
Right.
And now they're saying that the Akashic records are the hologram. Yay! I love when people get it. I started teaching this when I started Crystal Links in 1995. Okay? 1995 was the year of the channelers. And my other side is Zoroaster, who we all call Z, and a lot of people know that. Most people know that about me. But everybody was channeling. They used to say, change your voice and become Zoroaster. And I'm like, I'm kidding. I'm not into hokey. I'm not into any of that stuff, okay? But I did know that the hologram and the Akashic records and everything else, it's all the same. It's another title. That's all it is. What you're saying is, well, the Akashic records are not buried under the Sphinx's paw or any of that nonsense, And, but the Akashic records are the frequency grids that contain the information. And anybody can go up there and get them. The problem is when people do use their consciousness to go there, people who are confident will understand what they see, what they believe, they will get it. Other people will start to throw doubt and become very subjective about what they see. That's why I always say any of these exercises, it's just divination tools. That's all it is. Astrology you were talking about, it's a tool of divination. okay? Just one of many. But write it down or record it. Now everything is recorded. Take your cell phone and just say, okay, today I meditated, I saw this, I saw that, and all of that. One day it'll make sense.
Yeah.
You just keep your own record.
Well, one of the things that we found is, as many individuals in the world, there are many theories about us, about who we are, how we started, and that's one of the things that we're trying to do on the form of reality. Just like with you, you report on a variety of different kinds of paranormal, if I may use that, metaphysical, pseudoscientific
And maybe
items.
how it relates to
Yeah.
current events.
Yeah, and you have no judgment. Or I don't think that you judge and say this is good or that's bad. You report as a
It just
as a
is.
report. It just is, and it's the same way with individuals that are tuning into our broadcast. One of our missions is to get people to see that there could be or are different points of view, but we're all saying the same, but in different languages in different ways.
Well, when I describe it, I draw a circle for my classes. Okay, here's a circle. And then I make all these little squiggly lines coming into. These are the roads, the paths. Take any path you want, okay?
Right.
Here they are, here they are, here they are. And then suddenly, what do you wind up with? The sperm and the egg in creation.
That's true.
All those little squiggly, because your path to truth is never going to be straight and clear.
You're right. You're
You're
absolutely
always going to say, I need to journey here, I need to heal this before I get it, I need to work on that, whatever you're programmed to do. It's all programming. But so that's why I started making it with the little squiggles, and then one day I realized I'm doing sperm and egg and I'm making creation. And I was very happy about that.
That's a good analogy. I like that.
I'm not sure if it's important, but with the hologram or whatever, what do you think about the was a collider in CERN?
Oh, the Large Hadron Collider. Yes, I was very taken with that. I'm not sure what they found because they turned it on and then they said this time around, okay? I think that was the beginning of last year. I used to follow it very closely. I think they have found far more than they are telling the public. Like first they said they thought they found this little particle. Now they backed off. No. They said, no, we didn't really find anything. Trillions of dollars, and so many physicists working there. It's hard to believe they didn't. Did they open a black hole that will swallow us up? Well, there are black holes that pass through Earth all the time. That's science. That's astronomy. Okay, so there's always black holes. If that would have happened, we would have been swallowed up. We wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation. Right. That they found the God particle, or the Higgs boson, I think I'm pronouncing that right, that they found that. They backed off too much this year as to what they actually found. And of course, we all know there's conspiracies and cover-ups and government cover-ups. And as soon as somebody discovers something that could be tangible, not in the field of the esoteric, in the field of aliens or something that's, would scare people, they shut it right down.
Sure.
I kind of thought it was like the atomic bomb was, and it scared the aliens, like, hey, you guys are messing with stuff you shouldn't be messing with. And I think there was a time that they turned it on and like a mouse or some little animal shorted it out, so
It was
it didn't work.
a rodent, I think. I remember that. But did you believe that? I didn't.
It's just a theory, and
I mean, they may have let a little rodent, so the theory has some substance to it. But underneath it all, I have never been a conspiracy theorist, but I've met the good ones and the bad ones, and the crazy ones. May I add? There's a lot of crazy ones. All right. But I have met a lot of people in that vein, and the whole nature of this reality is electromagnetic energy to be in physical reality. So therefore, it's bipolar. So therefore, from the beginning, everything has been based on conspiracies and lies. And That's the way it is. You can take it to science, you can take it to governments, okay? You can take it to everything. I mean, it's just, it's something is done and then it's covered up.
Yeah, the Illuminati or the Bilderbergs or whoever you want to pin it on.
There is many groups out there. I mean, do I believe, or I can't say whether or not I know of them, but it's possible that there are groups that actually run the world in the sense of they create the wars, they create the economies, they create the geophysical changes we're having, etc. Absolutely, without a doubt. There are, I don't know, some people call them cabals. Let's call them cabals. I used to call them the powers that be. It really doesn't matter. And for some reason, years ago, I thought there was just like one group, like you say, the Bilderbergs, okay? One group who dominated everything. The president doesn't run the country. He's selected, not elected. He is selected, this guy, or girl, I should say.
Talk
girl.
about a hologram.
Yeah, I mean, so this is it. So the hologram picks the person, but these, now I have discovered, because I've decided I'm going to just go looking some more, that there are several of these cabals, should we call them, and for some reason now, probably because the consciousness grids are imploding, they are doing battle within themselves. Okay, so there are the battles here, the physical battles, we see them every day, we see them on the war front, we see them in racism, we see them in the, I'm Jewish, in the meshuggah behavior of people who are just going into a school or somewhere, boom, 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 and killing people because they're meshuggah, okay? But we see the craziness happening, but now I see it happening in a higher level. And these, should we call them cabals, to me, are not made up of aliens. They are human. As far as they appear to me, this is human. These are human factions that have ruled and determined everything. Does it go into aliens? In my world, everything offshoots into aliens.
Now, you said you had an alien experience earlier. Would you mind sharing that?
Sure. I grew up in Brooklyn, in Coney Island, okay? And when I was in 6th grade, I was 11 in February, and the end of March, we were coming to spring break. And my mother, for some reason, I was supposed to graduate 6th grade, that's elementary school, to go into middle school. She took me to, she hired a driver, and she took me to the desert of Nevada. Now, I know my mother was very psychic and clairvoyant. I know all of that. And we're not a family, as I said, of drinkers or druggers or smokers, and none of that stuff, okay? And when we were there, it's so typical of your UFO abduction experience that I actually went back there to investigate it, you know, years later. But now we're going back to 1954. And when we were in the desert, the car stopped. It's your typical, it's not turning over, it's not stopping. You get out of the car. My mom and I were sitting in the back. I remember that clearly. The driver in the front. I guess the luggage was in the rear and the trunk. And we just got out, and I was taken. I was taken. I've only been taken once that I'm aware. I've never did the abduction where they're harming me, where I could sit here and honestly tell you they poked and prodded. And do they follow me? Have they implanted me with a chip? I don't know. Nothing has ever bothered me. I'm 73 and I don't have one medical problem. So I have no idea. I really don't. But
what was your sense that, what did you feel just right after that? Were they friendly?
Friendly.
Okay.
They were in the guise, to my consciousness, of a male and a female robed being. But what I remember more than that was I was sitting on this round bench, and sitting next to me was a little boy who I did not talk to, okay? A little boy who was about my age, not little, I was 11. He looked comparable, and we looked out the window of what I guess you call a porthole or whatever, and there was some sort of programming that went on. It wasn't scary. I didn't see grays. I didn't see any reptilians. I know I'm connected to that, the reptilians, more than anything else. I just saw two robed beings. I know that my DNA was altered. And the next thing you know, I'm back down on the ground, and the driver was so scared to death that he just took me and my mother to the nearest train station, and he said, "I'm out of here." And he left us. Yeah, he was scared. Wouldn't you be scared if that happened with your child?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I was not scared. It felt right. So then we came back to Brooklyn, and I guess maybe to make the point for whoever watches over me or whatever, that that something special had happened, because I just was kind of like, I remember them telling me, "You're going to do this, you're going to do that, and you're here for this," and I was like, "Yeah, well, I'm 11. What do I know? I'm a little kid. I want to play, you know." But it resonated, and I live next door. My family lives next door to a family, a mom, a son, a mom, a dad, a son who was school age, and a little girl with water on the brain. And one day the mom had to go pick the little boy up, and she said to me, "The little baby, the little girl is sleeping. Can you keep an eye on her? I'm just going to run around the corner to the school." And I said, "Sure, I'm fine." I was a very mature 11, to say the least. By that time I was probably 12.
It's a different time. People grew up a little quicker.
Yeah, and I'm an only child also, from a mother who had, I don't know how many miscarriages, okay? One of those stories. So, I said, "Sure." So then the little girl got up, and she was beautiful, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, normal height, normal weight. She had water on the brain, hydrocephalus. And in those years, there was nothing. There was no shunts to put in. So they had said she'd live a reasonable amount of time, but she'd never sit, she'd never do anything really, you know?
Right.
And I picked her up, and I held her, and she was smiling and giggling at me. And then I heard, this is when I started to hear, I heard, "Sit her up, put your hand on her head, and she will sit." And I'm like, what? So I did. What do you got to lose, right? So I sat her up. I put my hand on her head, like the healers do, but it was instinctive, intuitive. And she was sitting. And then her mom came home, and her mom's like, "Oh, grab her, she's going to fall." And I said, "I don't think so." Then I held her another day, a few days passed, I held her and she started to crawl. And then I stood her up one day, because she was over a year old already, you know, and she wasn't premature. And I stood her up, and the mother was there at that point. And I said, "I don't know how I know. I'm just a kid too, you know?
Yeah.
This baby's going to stand now." And she did. And then the family moved, and I don't know what happened to her. So I was shown that something special, this was a confirmation, something special happened to you, Ellie, while you were there. And we're showing this to you. The only thing for me is, being 12 years old, is that I got scared and I just wanted to be a kid.
Sure.
And I just said, "I don't want this, I don't want this, take this away, scary."
Well, see, you're talking about
Just want to jump rope like everybody else.
Yeah, one of the
I like to ride my bike. That's the kind of little girl I like to be.
one of the lists on my bucket list before I go beyond is to converse with an alien that is not born of Earth, but is born outside, and that I have thousands of questions.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm ahead of you on that line.
I know, I know.
That is a very long line of people across the world who want that. But before we talked, I had a guy who came here today to change my cable box. I update every few years. And on his badge, on his card, hanging from his pants, was his name with some little small writing, but then in big letters, it said E.T. So I started laughing at him. And he said, "What?" When his fly was over or something, because I'm staring, you know. And I said, "You're an ET, can I have this picture?" and he laughed, but he kind of probably thought why am I saying that, you know? But he was a nice guy.
Yeah.
And he was a fellow Aquarian, we all get along, so we're good.
Well, even 35 years ago, any contact with UFOs or aliens or individuals off this world, you were either frightened to death, you were considered not all there, It just didn't exist,
It's going to
etc.
take you to talk to somebody, 'cause you
Yeah.
went off your rocker.
Yeah, but now,
it's more about the government threats. It's
Sure.
more. I used to be very good friends with
Sure.
Bill Cooper, and he used to tell me the stories of things that happened to him. True or not, I don't know, because he kind of drank a little bit, so you take it with a grain of salt. But there are so many people out there who say they channel aliens. There are people who say the ships come over and they think something, the ship will blink. I've heard every imaginable story.
I know.
And I do not, unless I know they're really nutso, I do not doubt any of it. I also feel on the consciousness level, you don't hear about Mongoloidism very often nowadays. What you hear about now is autism and Asperger's.
Right.
And that's a different level of human that has come in. Of course, there's different levels of autism. My friend wrote the book on it, and Asperger's, but the whole consciousness of humanity is shifting.
I
I
agree.
believe a lot of the autistic children are born, and it started in the late 90s when they all started coming in, but I believe a lot of these children were born and continue to be because the grids that they spiral in on are fractured. The grids are all fractured. And they are not coming in for the normal experiences that you and I would consider normal.
I tend to agree that there's a variety of different new children that are coming in that don't fit Mike or my or your frame of mind or a frame of understanding.
Right.
That they are different. And
Might have
they
special gifts or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
May not
and
be
then
balanced.
they're determining that those levels of autism, because I taught special ed, and either they were autistic, where they were raging autism, or that was it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Oh no, there's nothing wrong with my child. That's all you ever heard was denial, denial, denial.
Right.
Now we understand they recognize autism, how it comes in, it's all online, it's all with the doctors, and people are learning to deal with it. And
Yeah.
if you start at a young age, if you have someone who's autistic in the family or friend, if you start at a young age, those kids can mainstream by 5. And that's the teacher in me talking.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And it should be. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you want to talk about current events?
Sure, pick it. You want to talk about the election coming up?
Sure.
Everybody in New York, I live in New York, and in New York, we're just right on top of things, okay? Well, the election is big. When Trump declared that he was running for office, that was June of 2015, give or take, I believe it was June. I sat down at the computer and I blogged the next day. This guy's going all the way. I see him running, and I see him running against Hillary. Okay, and you can go back to my old blogs or my old Facebooks or whatever, and people on Facebook comment right away. They're like, no, he's not a politician. And I said his role would be to take down a corrupt political system. Not to say he's not corrupt also, he totally is, and he's wacko. But the thing is, somebody had to come in, and that's why he's going neck and neck with her, at this point. My take on all of this, so far I've been right about Trump. The only question is, do I see him going all the way? This, I'm not sure. I do not think Hillary is going to get sick. I do not think, other than little things, both of them are my age group. Somebody in my age group, and I'm very clear of mind and all of that, and I sleep 9 straight hours. I mean, this is just who I am. But somebody in my age group to run a country, that's a toughie. You start to have, as you get through your 70s, you forget little things. Now, if you got the world's greatest assistant, that assistant will say, Ellie, you're supposed to do this at 2 o'clock and this at 3 o'clock. Okay, good. So if your short-term memory goes, it goes,
Sure. Sure.
But then there are the physical things. Do I feel they're physically good? I don't think so. I really feel that they are both, my truth on them is I think they're both corrupt in their own way. I think they're both too old. I think they both embellish stories. I don't know anybody who likes the Clintons. And I'm talking from all walks of life. I'm not talking about, really socialize much in the metaphysical community. I don't know anybody who likes her. I don't know if I'm going to vote. I'll be honest, but they say, but you have to vote. Why do I have to vote? The president's already been picked. The hologram has picked the president. What's the difference, you know?
Sure.
It doesn't really matter to me. If it turns out to be Trump, we're in for a wild roller coaster ride, but that's what we're doing now anyway. See, what people need to understand is nobody who ran over the last year and a half or whatever, nobody can fix unsolvable problems because the hologram is imploding. So these things can't be fixed. You think Trump or Hillary or Jeb Bush or anybody else, Bernie, we all love Bernie. Bernie's a Brooklyn boy like me, you know. And do you think these people can come in and fix the unfixable? Absolutely not.
I thought it would be fixed just like almost immediately. It will be huge. It'll be amazing.
What, Bernie?
No, Trump.
Trump is huge jokes and his huge everything. Trump is a joke, okay? I don't like him. I don't hate him. I don't like Hillary. I don't hate Hillary. Whatever turns out to be, I think if it's Hillary, it's more of the same, but things are imploding. Neither one, when you think about it, and your listeners, when they think about it, what can they do? Maybe increase the police force to stop what's going on in the country in terms of violence? These violent things I'm not even talking about terrorist cells. I'm talking about crazy individuals. You can't stop them.
No, we've had a history of violence. We've had a history of doing some absurd things.
And now with like a 24-hour news rotation,
Sure.
they bring, the bad thing that happened in California, Colorado, Alaska, France. It's all like it's happening here, and it just
Well,
sounds
you know
worse.
why? Because the souls, the human consciousness is busy dealing with its 3D everyday stuff, getting from day to day to day to day, with health, with jobs, with money, whatever they're dealing with. Okay, that's the 3D consciousness. But the soul is saying, this is going to end soon, and we want freedom. So enter all the Middle Eastern countries. I mean, as a woman, I think what goes on there is horrific. Horrific. Africa, awful, okay? Even European women that I read, okay, that have migrated here from Europe and tell me how their husbands treat them and whatever, I'm taking the female stand on this.
Well, sure.
Yeah. But the point is, the fight for freedom, be it racial or gender or transgender or whatever it is, gay, whatever it is, people are fighting for freedom now. They're not we're staying around for another 100 years to let the political system fix it for us.
Right.
We're going to go out there, we're going to fight for it now. I mean, my heart goes out to all of the families of these young black people who have been killed recently. It's barbaric to me. Everything. Syria, oh my God. There are 2 million people on Monday, that was the news Monday, that had no water in Aleppo. I mean, we're supposed to be modern, right? Sophisticated, modern societies, and we're pushing forward and all of that. We're worse than the cavemen.
We wonder why they don't like us.
Well, we've just had a continual
There's a lot of
history.
things that our government and other governments have done that really I could understand why they don't like us. We don't belong there. I have to tell you one more Trump thing. On January 1st, I think of 2014, I wrote a blog. I always write this little New Year's blog, and I wrote this blog. And I wrote in my blog, I said, if I were president for the next 4 years, okay, the first thing I would do would be build a wall around the country. All right, you can't, we have our oceans and boundaries, but I saw it in my mind. I am going to build this wall, and no one's coming in. You want to leave because you want to go home to your country, you want to study abroad, you want to work abroad. You go out, in my 4-year term, you cannot come back. I'm bringing the troops home. I am going to make this country great. I am going to build jobs. I'm going to recreate this country and make it wonderful. I understand what he means about building this wall. I mean, if you understand, it's not conspiracy theories, but if you know what's going on with the gangs and the cartels, and it's not just Mexico, it's South America, Central, they're coming in here. I live in Brooklyn, for crying out loud. I read cops, I read law enforcement. People don't have any idea, or maybe a lot of people do, what's really going on in the world of crime today. You know, they see these one little case history things, go back to, what was his name? Sims, what was his name? O.J. Simpson?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. You know, and let's review him. What about the real world? What's really going on? You know? And it's like they don't show us. They don't show, they don't tell. They just show what they want you to see. It's time for the governments to come down and change. It's time for these backdoor deals to end. And that's why Trump is popular. Trump is saying all of that establishment stuff. It's going. And that's why the Republicans, a lot of Republicans can't back him, because he's not going to keep that energy flowing. If you want to talk about it energetically, he's not going to keep that energy flowing that, hey, I'll help you out, Pat, okay? And then you help me out, and together you and I are going to get very rich, okay? And do we care about the rest of the country? No. We're getting rich, okay? Maybe we're the 1%, maybe we're somebody else, maybe we're political people. You know, the political scandals used to be about who's sleeping with who and all of that. You don't even hear that anymore. Does anybody care?
That's right.
Nobody cares who's sleeping with who. They sleep around. That's what they do. You know, so nobody really cares about that stuff. It's what's really going on. Bridgegate's going on now, right across the bridge in New Jersey. I mean, what's the real stories? And people want truth, and they want freedom. And in any part of this world today, people are not going to stop until they get it. And that's why I also consider that part of the closing of the hologram. Free your spirit so you can understand.
That's why I think Trump is useful for. Just burn down the system. You know.
Well, if that is the case, if the case is all about Trump getting rid of these things. But I wrote on my blog today, I said, Hillary has gone out on a limb and said, if there's anything going on in Area 51, which at this point there probably isn't because too many people know about, if there's anything going on, I'm going to bring it out. And we all took a nice big chuckle over that. Yeah, okay, fine, you know, because we know she's not. But today I posed the question to the readers, if Donald Trump is elected and he finds out about aliens here, conspiracies there, reverse engineering, projects that could be taking us to the moon, taking us to Mars, because there's all kinds of projects going on. I called it covert ops, okay? Oh, all this stuff is true, it's real. So if he wants to discuss it and expose it, not condemn it, not take it down, but if he wants to say, okay, this is what really happened. There's so many crashed UFOs, forget about Roswell, there's crashed UFOs all over the world. I want to send out a fact-finding team. Let's bring it out to the world. I'd vote for him in a second.
I would too. I would too.
Because it's all part of truth. So my question was, do you think if he is elected, he would bring that out to the public?
And there's a certain amount of things that you learn. I don't know if it's just the powers that be tapping the president on the shoulder, but you know, if you looked or remembered Obama, you know, the first term when he's all full of hope and change and all that stuff, and then the first days of office, his demeanor changes like, oh, now I know what's going on behind the curtain.
Yeah, he was an inexperienced junior senator. Okay, I like him. I've always liked him. I still like him. I don't like any of his policies, but I like him. I like Michelle. What can I say? I like them.
Right.
There's something about him I like. But the point is, he has said several different things, mostly to Jimmy Kimmel, actually, okay? Jimmy Kimmel asked him, you know, something about policy, and he said, I wish I knew then what I know now. And we all took that to mean the president doesn't run anything. He makes, yes, it appears he makes decisions.
I know.
But the president takes orders from others. Then Jimmy Kimmel asked him something about, can you tell us, please, 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 obviously this guy really wants to know, can you tell us if there's aliens and UFOs? And he said, I'm not at liberty to do so. Okay, and then he said, but then he continued on, and you can check your Jimmy Kimmel fact-finding thing, and he said, but the people already know the truth.
Yeah.
Okay?
The one thing I tell people is, how much has the president affected your life? Probably not much. And, you know, the thing that I have had disagreements with on Facebook and stuff is the hate that has been created between people that support Hillary and people who support Trump. They both think each other are just creeps from hell, and they're just terrible people. And, you know, this has all been created and people don't get along. But it's like, look, it doesn't matter that much. Just make your world, your sphere, a nice one, right? Be the change you want to see. Be nice to people. Have a nice family, and just ignore the rest of this. Make your world beautiful.
That's if you program to do that. I'm lucky I'm programmed to do it, and I think you guys are both programmed to have a decent family. You know, I know of Pat's family, married, a few kids, grown, you know, that kind of thing. Same here. And, you know, if you're programmed for that, fine. But if you're programmed to mental illness, substance abuse issues, all the craziness that goes on now, and the sad part is the burning out thing. People are burning out. They just can't work anymore. It's a very, very difficult world. I wouldn't wish this presidency on anyone. Trump cannot fix things. I go on record. Hillary cannot fix things. Some people said, what about Joe Biden? Joe Biden is also in our age group. We're talking 70s. He used to fall asleep at meetings, you know. We'd see these little headshots.
Well, I've told.
And then we'll get to the Reagan era where it's like, huh? Where? What?
Yeah, exactly.
I've told
So,
many that we're really voting for the vice president.
oh,
Because,
you think that too?
oh, yes.
Yeah. If we stick around that long, so then look at our options, okay?
Yeah.
We Pence and Kane, and I'm not liking those options.
No.
I understand. Hey, Ellie, our time unfortunately is up, and we just got started.
Yeah.
So I do hope that.
I knew this hour would go quick.
Yeah, if you could possibly come back, we could talk a number of other kinds of things. You have been one of those spiritual mentors on this plane that have opened my eyes to higher possibilities, and I want to say that you are a lady and a scholar, and I cannot thank you enough for all the things that you have helped me to better understand. And
Thank you.
I
That
mean
was that was why I have put 21 years now, going into my 22nd year, into Crystal Links. The websites from that, you know, that were created through the late 90s, they all faded away. You know, the channelers, I mean, I started off trying to present this as a holographic universe. I took it all off. I went with the healers and the channelers, and I experienced what all of your listeners are probably, let's spin our chakras and let's doodle our pendulums and let's go questing and let's go to sacred side. I did all that stuff, you know. It was fun. I did it with an open mind.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden in 2012, and we know nothing, well, we don't know what happened in 2012, but in 2012, I just said enough. It's time. It's definitely time. You know, actually it was more like the end of 2011, that it's time for me to state my purpose and why I'm here. And people can like it or not like it, but I knew that other people who are brilliant and influential in the sciences, you know, and mathematics, they're going to come along to back me up. And whatever, you know, I say this to your listeners, whatever your belief system is, that's your programming. Try to make the best of it, you know. Just don't dwell too long on anything. This is what I find is a major problem. People dwell too long on bad relationships, on bad programming, on bad job. Just try to just do the best you can with what you've been given. And, you know, even when my clients walk out, I tell them what I see. That's the best I can give them, you know, and that's it. And if you feel that you are out of control for some reason, then see if you can get some professional help. I'm not saying to live on meds. People are like, oh, no med. Do some homework, some research, talk to somebody, go to these spiritual counselors, you know, the life coaches. It means the same thing. A therapist, psychologist, life coach, counselor. It's all the same. That's
Yes.
what healing is about. It is all the same. The physical healers, I know I'm going to run over, but the physical healers are all realizing she's right. It's all coming from the consciousness and the mind. You don't heal that, you know what I mean? And the
You're
programming
right.
doesn't end.
You are
When
right.
your programming for whatever it is over, whatever is bothering you personally, whatever it is, when it's over, you will walk away and go, that was an interesting experience. Thank God it's over. Let's add that little tagline. And Pat, Mike, Mike, I'm just really meeting you. It's my pleasure.
Me too.
And maybe one day we will do it again.
Good, good. I hope so. We're talking with Ellie Crystal. She has www.crystallinks.com. She has a daily blog article, and she writes without prejudice. And she, her job is to give as much information. So I recommend all the listeners to experience Ellie.
Thank you. The blog is Ellie's World, by the way.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna go
Yes.
straight there. It's whatever. They'll find it.
And it's well done. So,
Thank you.
Ellie, thank you.
And thank you, guys.
I'm Patrick.
Mike, and to our listeners, thanks for watching, and tune in next week for a different guest.